favorite Paul Rudd movie?
I was just going to say we've spent the whole morning talking about Paul Rudd. What's my favorite Paul Rudd movie?
Right.
Shit.
And you can't say Halloween, the Curse of Paul Rudd.
Well, that's
other than that
that's not a good Paul Rudd movie. Crap.
I don't even know what kind of accent he is trying to do in the movie.
So
it's very bad.
This is very tough for me because he's in so many good movies. I was just telling you, Ant-Man is one of my favorite superhero movies.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's very good, and I think the sequel is coming out very soon.
Are we getting paid to say this?
No.
Okay.
40-Year-Old Virgin's very good.
I think,
but
I still
the thing
think
is,
I Love You Man.
He's not like the funny one in 40-Year-Old Virgin for me. He's not as funny as some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Anchorman, he's very good.
I Love Lamp.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I Love You Man is probably the best Paul Rudd. If you're looking for a heavy dose of Paul Rudd and some good laughing, I Love You Man is a good get some fish tacos and a whole bunch of beer, cold beer, and get out your bass guitar and sit down.
Slap some bass.
Sit down and watch I Love You Man. You know what? I like that movie so much, and I thought it's such a good like guy movie that I almost bought tickets to see
Rush.
Yeah, I almost bought tickets to see Rush the day after I saw that movie, and then I realized the tickets to see Rush were like $100, and I was like, well, I'll just take $20 and listen to him on my phone.
Yeah, all right, migos.
So we spent the whole morning talking about Paul Rudd and even a little bit just now.
And Don Rickles.
But thinking about another conversation we had is what kind of inspired me out of the blue this last week. Mm-hmm. What was it? Has it been about 6 weeks now? Maybe 2 months? We're so busy that the time frame is screwy for me. But we did that podcast festival, right, in Columbus.
Yeah.
And we discussed Brian Schaefer for a good portion of that.
Yes.
And I'm not crazy, but people have got to hear that on here, right? On Off the Record?
I believe so.
So if you want, you can go listen to that. But the thing here is afterwards, when we were at, go ahead.
I was just going to say I have a couple updates on that real quick. If you want to hear them.
Well, actually, yeah, I do. But I want to tell you why I kind of got into this thinking about Joey LaBute's case.
Mm-hmm.
Was that podcast festival. Because afterwards, we're talking about Brian Schaefer, and we were trying to leave the theater. And there was a great group of people, about 6 or 7 people outside of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And we stood there talking with them about Brian Schaefer's case, but we also talked quite a bit about Joey LaBute and several other people that have gone missing or were killed in Ohio.
Well, first of all, we were supposed to go to the Little Rock Bar in Columbus, which is owned by a friend of mine or a guy I haven't seen in a while, but I consider him a friend of mine. And
what was the name of the band you guys played in together?
X-Rated Cowboys,
which I saw you guys at least once at the Newport.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good band.
Back when we lived in an apartment together. That's when I joined X-Rated Cowboys, and mainly because I said, "Hey, I'm supposed to go play with this band, X-Rated Cowboys," and you go, "Hey, I just heard them on the radio," and I thought, "Well, shit, if they're on the radio,
it's meant to be.
I should probably play with this band." No, but it's funny because we're sitting outside of the theater. There's like 6 people talking to us. We're talking about different cases and everything. We end up, I think I was out there for about 2 hours because I remember my legs getting tired and like leaning against the wall. Mm-hmm. And but we're supposed to go to that bar afterwards, and we never made it. But in fairness to us, as we thought, hey, we should go to that bar because there's going to be some people hanging out afterwards. Like the host of the show was like, "See you guys later," and we're like, "Hey, you going to the bar?" He's like, "Nah, nobody's going."
Well, so what was the result of that? Were there actual people there, like wanting to hang out?
Yeah, some people showed up. So
we look like douche canoes, but the host, and I can't remember his name, but he was great. He did a great job interviewing us and keeping the show going at the podcast festival. But you're right, we're all kind of filing out through the main doors there to the theater, and I assumed the 3 of us were going to kind of go together to this bar, the Little Rock Bar. And of course, he says to us, he goes, don't worry about going. There's nobody over there.
Right. Right.
We're like, oh, okay.
And then I thought, well, and then I think you were pretty busy that week. And I remember saying to you, like, you looked at me like, oh man, well, nobody's going. And you had a lot of stuff, I think, going on in the morning. And I was like, hey, don't worry about going. I'll go over.
Right.
You know, if there's anybody over there, at least one of us shows up. And just because this guy said, don't go over there, at least one of us will show up. Well, after talking for about 2.5 hours on the street, then I was like, there's no way that there's anybody left.
We figured the only people that wanted to talk to us at the Little Rock Bar were the three